For centuries, the galaxy believed humans were weak. They were clever, yes, and stubborn, but compared to the great alien empires, humans seemed small. Their fleets were small, their colonies scattered, their armies outnumbered. To the rest of the galaxy, humanity looked like nothing more than a young race trying to survive among giants. But the galaxy was wrong. Humans were hiding something. In the silence of space, far away from alien eyes, great secrets were being built. Entire star systems were turned into workshops. Moons were mined until they were hollow. Asteroids vanished from their belts, taken apart piece by piece. Even stars were drained for energy. Every missing freighter, every vanished worker, every colony that seemed empty. None of it was by chance. Humanity was not dying. Humanity was preparing. They called it the hidden work. At first, it began in secret shipyards, deep inside dead systems where no alien ships would bother to look. The humans built stations the size of cities, connected by tunnels that stretched across light years. Every worker swore an oath of silence. Every ship that left the yards carried strange cargo. Machines, metals, fuel beyond counting. The aliens noticed some things. They noticed that humans were quiet. Too quiet. They noticed colonies that once traded every day now sent no messages. They noticed human ships traveling routes that seemed to go nowhere. But they laughed it off. Humans are weak, they said. They are probably struggling to survive. But they were wrong again. Inside the shipyard, something beyond imagination was being shaped. At first it looked like a mountain, then a continent, and then something even bigger. Workers stood in awe as shadow after shadow stretched into the stars. One man whispered, "This isn't a ship, this is a world." And he was right. It was not a warship the size of a cruiser, not the size of a city. It was something the galaxy had never seen before. A warship the size of a planet. Each layer was forged in silence. Armor plates were thicker than mountains. Engines the size of oceans hummed quietly, hidden behind asteroid fields. Cannons longer than skyscrapers pointed into the void. Every part was built with one goal, power, but why? Why would humans, the so-called weak species, build such things? The truth was simple. They had no choice. For centuries, humans had listened to the whispers of the galaxy. They heard the aliens speak when they thought humans were not listening. They knew the old empires planned one day to remove humanity, before humans grew too strong. And humans did what humans always did. They prepared. They prepared in silence. A child growing up on a human colony might think their father worked in the mines, or their mother on a trade ship. But in secret, those parents were moving resources to the hidden work. Every human was part of it. Every worker, every engineer, every soldier knew the truth. Humanity's survival depended on the building of giants. Whole generations were born under the shadow of this secret. And yet none of the aliens suspected the scale. Not yet. There were rumors, of course. A spy here, a pirate there, a strange signal heard from the dark side of a planet. One alien trader swore he saw a human station the size of a moon. But when he returned with others, there was nothing but empty space. He laughed at himself and said it must have been a trick of the stars. But deep inside the hidden yards, the truth was taking shape. The first of the planet ships was nearly complete. Workers floated in space, their suits tiny dots against the dark as they welded together the last massive plates. From a distance, it looked like another planet, a lifeless rock circling a dead sun. But if you looked closer, you could see the lines of weapons, the glow of engines, the scars of construction. It was alive. And it was waiting. The humans gave it a name, but they never spoke it outside the council. To them, it was a shield and a sword. To the galaxy, it would soon be a nightmare. But for now, the galaxy slept in ignorance. They laughed at humanity. They mocked their weakness. They told each other that humans were too small, too scattered, too fragile to matter. And all the while, in the shadows of dead stars and hollow moons, the hidden work continued. Each day brought the humans closer to finishing their secret. Each day brought the galaxy closer to a revelation it was not ready for. And when the truth came, it would not be a whisper. It would be a roar that shook the stars. The galaxy was never silent. Ships moved between stars, traders carried goods, and diplomats carried lies. News spread fast, but fear spread faster. And now, a new fear was beginning to rise. Whispers about humans. At first, the whispers were small. A missing patrol here, a strange signal there. Nothing solid, nothing proven. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, the rumors grew louder. "They are hiding something," one alien said in a smoky tavern on a distant moon. "I heard they are building a fleet," another whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "A fleet?" The first laughed. "Humans can barely build enough ships to guard their colonies." "Not ships," the second said. His eyes narrowed. "Something bigger." No one believed it. Not yet. But the stories continued. A trader swore he saw a shadow moving near a dead star. At first he thought it was a planet drifting out of orbit. But then it turned. No planet turns in space. He sold his story to the news networks, but they called him a liar, a drunk. His ship was found weeks later, empty and broken, drifting in silence. Another rumor came from a pirate crew. They had attacked a human convoy, expecting weak defenses. Instead, they found human ships carrying strange cargo, huge engines, armor plates thicker than anything they had ever seen. The pirates never made it back. Only one message was sent before their signal vanished. "It is not cargo, it is a skeleton of something massive." The galaxy began to ask questions. Why were humans so quiet? Why did their colonies send fewer messages every year? Why did their trade fleets carry supplies but never return? Alien councils argued about it. "They are a young race," said one diplomat. "They are not worth our fear." "They are planning something," said another. "I feel it. You always feel danger," the first mocked. "Because danger is real," the second replied. But no one had proof. And without proof, the empires did nothing. They laughed at the rumors. They called them ghost stories. Still, the whispers grew. One spy ship belonging to the Rithari Empire followed a human convoy deep into uncharted space. The crew was skilled, silent, trained to see what others could not. For days they followed, hiding in the shadow of asteroids, keeping their distance, and then they saw it. At first they thought it was a moon, cold, lifeless, spinning slowly around a black star. But then the moon shifted. Lights glowed across its surface. Vast towers rose like blades. The Rithari captain stared, his hands shaking. "That is no moon," he whispered. It turned toward them. For one terrifying moment, the spy ship looked into the glowing eye of something larger than imagination. And then the stars went black. The Rithari crew tried to escape. They sent a signal to their empire. "It's bigger than a planet." The message cut off. The ship was never seen again. The signal, broken and half-burned, still reached the Rithari High Council. Panic spread through the empire. Was it a weapon? Was it real? Or was it just a trick? But soon other reports followed. A patrol ship gone missing near the edge of human space. A scout who claimed to see a human station vanish into thin air. A merchant who swore he saw stars moving when they should have been still. Piece by piece, the whispers became something more. They became fear. The galaxy was divided. Some believed the humans were collapsing, burning out their last resources. They said the missing ships, the silent colonies, were signs of weakness. "Let them waste their energy," these leaders said. "They will die on their own." But others were not so sure. They remembered human history. They remembered how humans had fought wars against stronger enemies and won. They remembered how humans had adapted, survived, and turned weakness into strength. "They are not dying," one alien general said, his voice heavy with dread. "They are preparing." Still, no one dared to act. To accuse humans without proof would mean war. And no one wanted to risk that, so the galaxy waited, listening to whispers, watching for shadows. And far away in the dark, humans kept working. They knew the whispers were spreading. They knew spies were watching. They knew patrols were vanishing. And yet they said nothing, because silence was their greatest weapon. One human admiral, standing in the council chamber, looked out at the stars on the screen. "Let them whisper," he said calmly. "The more they fear, the less they act. And when the time comes, they will learn the truth." The galaxy thought they understood fear. They had no idea, for in the dark the first warship moved. Slowly, silently, a planet-sized shadow drifted from behind a dead star. Its engines glowed faintly like the beating heart of a god. It waited. The galaxy whispered. And soon, the whispers would turn into screams. The galaxy had heard the whispers. They had argued, denied, and laughed. But whispers could be ignored. Proof could not, and proof was about to arrive. It began with a routine patrol. A small fleet from the Varian Empire moved along the edge of human space. It was a quiet duty, a boring one. The commander yawned as the stars drifted across the screens. Another empty sector, his officer muttered. Good, the commander replied. Humans are too quiet. I prefer it this way. But then the sensors beeped. At first, it looked like an ordinary planet floating in the dark near a dead star. The crew shrugged. They had seen thousands of such planets, cold rocks, barren and useless. But then the planet moved. The crew froze. Planets did not move like that. Planets did not turn. On the screen, the object shifted slowly. From the shadow of the dead star, faint lights flickered. A line of glowing dots appeared along its surface. Towers, weapons, engines. The patrol ship's officer gasped. That is no planet. The commander stared in silence. His hands trembled. The thing was massive, stretching across the screen, bigger than any ship in the galaxy. Its surface bristled with weapons that could wipe out fleets in seconds. The object turned again, and for the first time the crew saw it clearly. A giant eye of light burned from its center. It was not the glow of a sun. It was the glow of a weapon. The crew felt it. The ship was looking at them. Back us away, the commander whispered. Engines at full, the officer replied, voice shaking. The patrol ship turned. But it was too late. The giant warship moved. Not fast, not with aggression, but with calm certainty, like a predator watching a mouse. Its engines glowed softly, yet the stars themselves seemed to bend as it drifted forward. The patrol ship's alarms screamed. Sensors went blind. Communication lines burned with static, and then for one brief second a clear signal broke through. The commander shouted into the transmitter. It's real! It's... Silence. The patrol fleet was gone. All that returned was a fragment of their last message, a broken signal caught by deep space satellites. Bigger than a planet. The galaxy trembled. For years they had called it a rumor. Now it was fact. The humans had built something beyond imagination. News spread like wildfire. Across alien worlds, markets collapsed, citizens panicked, leaders shouted in fear. In the high halls of the Dravari Empire, the ministers screamed at each other. They cannot build this alone, one cried. It must be a trick, a weapon stolen from the ancients. Another shouted. But the oldest minister shook his head slowly. No, this is human work. I have seen how they fight, how they build. This is their nature. They prepare in silence, and then they strike. In the great council of the galaxy, empires gathered to discuss what they had seen. The chamber buzzed with fear. They are too dangerous, one leader declared. We must strike now before they finish more of these monsters. And if they have already built more? Another asked. Then we are doomed, a third shouted. The council erupted in chaos. No one wanted to be the first to test humanity's power. No one wanted to admit the truth. But far away, the truth was already growing. The patrol ship had seen only one warship. One giant shadow, one eye of burning light. But hidden behind dead stars there were more. Silent. Waiting. On one human station, a young worker floated in the dark, welding the armor of another planet-sized ship. His hands were steady, his eyes calm. He knew the galaxy was whispering, panicking, afraid. But he also knew what his elders had taught him. They will come for us. And when they do, they will find we are ready. The human council remained silent. They did not deny. They did not explain. They let the galaxy fear, because fear was part of the plan. The Vayrene Empire sent a second patrol weeks later, larger and stronger, determined to find proof again. They reached the same dead star, scanning for signals. For a long time they found nothing but cold silence, and then their sensors flickered. The giant shadow appeared again. This time it moved faster. The Vayrene commander ordered a retreat. Back away now, he cried. But the warship did not fire. It simply drifted, vast and calm, watching them with its burning eye. The message was clear. It could kill them, but it chose not to. The second patrol fled in terror. They carried their story home. And with that, the galaxy finally believed. The whispers were over. Now there was only one truth. Humans had built planet-sized warships, and the galaxy had seen them. But no one knew the most terrifying part. That first glimpse was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen enough. The whispers were no longer whispers. The patrols that vanished, the broken signals, the giant shadow with the burning eye, none could be denied. The humans had built something vast, Something unnatural. Something terrifying. And now every empire wanted answers. The Great Council of the Galaxy was called into emergency session. Leaders from 100 worlds gathered, their voices sharp with fear. "This cannot stand," shouted the Varen ambassador. "No species should build such weapons." "They hide in silence," growled the Dravari warlord. "That silence is the sound of war." "But perhaps it is only defense," whispered the softer voice of the Kalar envoy. "We do not yet know their purpose." The chamber roared with arguments. Proof was demanded, accusations were thrown. Yet across all the noise, one question returned again and again. Why do the humans say nothing? Messages were sent. Thousands of them. Warnings, threats, pleas for truth. Diplomatic ships flew to human borders, broadcasting demands for explanation. And what came back? Nothing, no answer. No denial, no promise, only silence. Silence, the galaxy soon learned, was more terrifying than words. On alien streets, citizens panicked. Markets crashed. Families whispered of human conquest, of endless war. The word extinction began to appear in speeches and news. But the humans remained quiet. In the high chambers of Earth, the human council sat in the shadows of giant screens. On those screens, the galaxy's demands flashed endlessly. Messages from alien leaders, threats of war, promises of peace, all unanswered. One admiral broke the silence. "They fear us now. Every day we stay quiet, their fear grows stronger." Another nodded. "If we speak, they will unite. If we remain silent, they will divide." The council agreed. Silence was the greatest weapon of all. And so, the humans watched as the galaxy tore itself apart. Meanwhile, the galaxy prepared for war. The Rithari Empire gathered fleets, their ships forming great walls of firepower along their borders. The Varen trained new soldiers, pouring every resource into weapons. Smaller species rushed to form alliances, desperate for protection. Yet even in their fear, none dared to strike first, because no one knew the truth. How many of the planet ships existed? Was it only one? Or two, or dozens? Every rumor claimed a different number. Some said 10, others said 50. One desperate report screamed of 100 hidden in the dark, and without answers. No one dared to move. Inside the secret human yards, the work continued. Engines the size of oceans roared quietly, hidden in dead systems. Armor plates thicker than mountains were forged in silence. Planet ships were not just built, they were grown, each layer added with precision and care. Workers knew the galaxy was watching. They knew aliens feared their silence. But still they worked. On one station, a young engineer asked his commander, "Why do we not answer them? Why do we not explain?" The commander looked at him with cold eyes. "Because they never listened when we spoke before." "Why would they listen now?" The young engineer said nothing more. He understood. The silence was not weakness. It was judgment. Back in the council chambers of the galaxy, chaos grew. "Strike them now," the Varen ambassador shouted. "Destroy them before it is too late." "And if it is already too late?" the Kalar envoy asked softly. "If they have more ships than we can fight, then we will be the ones destroyed." The chamber shook with fear and rage. No one trusted their neighbors. No one dared to move without certainty, and all the while the humans gave them none. Then came the first movement. A single planet ship, drifting from behind a dead star, moved toward alien space. Slowly, calmly, with engines burning like suns, it glided across the void. It did not fire. It did not speak. It simply moved. The Varen Empire sent fleets to meet it. Hundreds of ships, bristling with weapons, surrounded the giant shadow. They demanded the humans speak. They demanded the warship turn back. And still there was silence. The planet ship drifted past them, ignoring their fleets as though they were nothing more than dust. Its eye glowed faintly, a warning, but it did not strike. The Varen fleets trembled. They followed at a distance, terrified to come closer. Terrified to fire first. When the warship finally vanished into the dark, the Varen ships returned home, shaken and broken. In their report, the commander wrote only one line: "They do not need to answer us. Their silence speaks louder than war." Across the galaxy, leaders read that report with dread. What did the silence mean? Was it mercy? Was it arrogance? Or was it simply the calm before the storm? No one knew. But one thing became clear. The humans had built planet ships. The humans had revealed them to the galaxy. And the humans would not explain why. The silence stretched across the stars, heavy and suffocating. And the galaxy understood a terrible truth. Sometimes, silence is the loudest sound of all. For weeks, the galaxy had lived in fear of silence. Humans said nothing. Their fleets did not answer. Their planet ships moved like shadows through the dark, but fear could not last forever. The galaxy wanted proof. Proof of what those giants could do, and humanity was ready to give it. It began at the edge of an old battlefield, a star system littered with the remains of a war fought centuries ago. Broken ships drifted there, silent graves of forgotten empires. Asteroids floated in wild orbits shattered by ancient weapons. It was the perfect place for a test. The humans chose it carefully. No colonies, no civilians, no witnesses, except the galaxy itself. Because they knew the galaxy was watching. Spies hid in the shadows, cloaked ships waiting to record every movement. Alien eyes stared from distant stations. The humans knew, and they wanted them to see. The warship arrived in silence. It drifted into the graveyard, its engines glowing like the hearts of suns. From a distance, it looked like a new planet joining the system, but as it turned, its shape was revealed. Towers of steel, weapons longer than cities, armor thicker than mountains. The watching spies held their breath. "What are they doing?" one whispered aboard a cloaked vessel. "Testing," another replied, voice shaking. The warship's eye glowed. At first, nothing happened. The ship hung still as though listening to the stars. Then slowly, massive panels slid open along its surface. Inside, light gathered, a pulse of energy, brighter and brighter until it blinded sensors across the system. The glow grew into a sun of its own, burning with power. The target was chosen, a belt of asteroids stretching like a wall across the void. The humans fired. The weapon was silent. No thunder, no roar, only light. A beam of white fire cut across space, striking the asteroid belt in a single instant. And then the belt was gone. Not broken. Not scattered. Gone. The asteroids shattered into dust, burned into glowing clouds of molten rock. Whole fragments of mountains turned to ash. The belt that had stretched for millions of kilometers simply vanished. The spies gasped. One covered his mouth with trembling hands. That was an entire belt. And they erased it, whispered another. Like it was nothing. But the humans were not finished. Engines roared. The warship turned its weapons on the broken debris, reshaping the very battlefield. Massive energy fields activated, pulling dust and fragments into strange formations. Within minutes, the ruins of the asteroid belt were forged into something new. A giant ring of glowing debris, orbiting the dead star like a crown. It was not just destruction. It was creation. The spies realized the truth. This was not only a weapon, it was a tool. A force that could tear systems apart or reshape them at will. The galaxy received the message clearly. We do not just destroy, we build. We decide what remains. Across alien worlds, panic exploded. News networks broadcast the images. The asteroid belt vanishing, the ring forming, the warship moving calmly through the wreckage. Citizens screamed in fear. Soldiers whispered that their fleets were useless. In the councils of the empires, leaders argued louder than ever. "If one ship can do this," cried the Varan ambassador, "what will 10 ships do? Or 100, the Dravari general growled. How many more are hidden in the dark? The Kalar envoy whispered the thought none wanted to say aloud. Perhaps they already outnumber us. The galaxy's balance had shattered. No one trusted anyone. Alliances cracked. Borders trembled. Fleets moved nervously. And through it all, humanity stayed silent. Inside the human council, the admirals watched the test footage. The destruction. The reshaping. The panic spreading across the galaxy. One counselor smiled. They wanted proof. Now they have it. Another nodded. Let them fear. Fear will keep them still. But not all humans smiled. Some looked away, uneasy. One young officer whispered, "This power, it is too much. If we use it against them, we will become what they feared." The elder beside him shook his head. "If we do not build it, we will not survive." "Do you prefer extinction?" The officer said nothing. He knew the answer. Far away in the ruins of the battlefield, the warship finished its test. The glowing ring of molten debris orbited calmly, a monument to human power. The giant turned slowly, its engines humming, and drifted back into the dark. It did not wait for applause. It did not explain itself. It simply left the galaxy to tremble. But as the warship vanished, a chilling thought spread through every empire. If one ship could erase an asteroid belt in seconds, how many ships had humanity already built? And what would happen when they finally chose a target that was not empty? The test was over. The asteroid belt was gone. In its place, a burning ring of dust circled a dead star, glowing like a scar across the sky. Every spaceship had seen it. Every empire had received the recordings. And across the galaxy there was only one thought. If one human ship could do this, what could a fleet do? Panic erupted. On the worlds of the Varan Empire, citizens ran into the streets shouting of human conquest. Shops closed. Markets crashed. Soldiers stood at every corner, their eyes full of fear. In the great halls of the Dravari Empire, generals pounded their fists on the tables. "This is war," one growled. "If we do not strike first, humanity will destroy us." "Strike?" Another sneered. "With what? Our fleets cannot match a single one of those monsters." "We would be crushed." The debate raged, but no answer came. Other empires reacted differently. The Kalar people, small and fragile, sent quiet envoys toward human borders. They carried messages of peace, offers of alliance. "Better to stand beside the giants," their leaders said, "than be crushed beneath them." The Rethari Empire, proud and arrogant, refused such weakness. Their leaders promised strength. They called on every empire to unite against humanity. "If we stand together," their ruler declared, "we can still destroy them." But unity was a dream. The galaxy had never trusted itself. Old rivalries, old grudges, old wars poisoned every alliance. No one wanted to fight humanity, but no one wanted to fight each other even more. And so, fleets gathered, soldiers trained, but every empire hesitated. Meanwhile, whispers filled the streets of alien cities. "They are gods," one merchant muttered. "No," another replied, shaking. "They are demons." "Perhaps both," said a third. Ordinary people no longer saw humans as weak. They no longer laughed at their stubbornness. Now when the word human was spoken, voices grew hushed. Fear wrapped around the name like chains. In the council chamber of humanity, the silence continued. Admirals and leaders watched the galaxy's panic unfold. News screens showed riots, protests, endless debates. The humans said nothing. One counselor leaned back in his chair. They argue with each other. They beg for alliances. They do not know what to do. "This is exactly what we wanted." But another frowned. "For now. Fear will not hold them forever. One day someone will strike." The leader of the council stood slowly, his voice heavy. "Then we must be ready. Our silence cannot last forever. When we speak, it will change everything." Far away in the depths of space, more planet ships awoke. Engines burned faintly in the void. Their shadows stretched across the stars like new worlds rising. The spies who saw them counted 12, maybe more. But rumors whispered of fleets larger than anyone could imagine. 12, 50, 100. No one knew the truth. And that ignorance was the sharpest blade of all. The galaxy reacted in two ways. Some prepared for war. Armies swore oaths. Fleets armed themselves. Secret plans were made in case the humans struck first. Others prepared for surrender. They sent gifts, envoys, and promises of loyalty. Better to kneel early, they thought, than be destroyed later. And in the middle were the cautious ones, those who waited, who prayed the humans would show mercy. But mercy was not what humans were known for. One alien general remembered the old wars. "Humans fight like fire," he told his council. "They spread. They consume. They cannot be stopped. The only question is, will we burn or will we burn with them?" His words echoed across the chamber, but no one answered. The galaxy stood on the edge of war. Fleets faced each other across invisible lines. Borders were sealed. Trade collapsed. The great web of civilizations trembled. Every thread stretched thin, and in the middle of it all, humanity stood silent. The silence was heavier than any weapon. Then, a movement. From the darkness, a fleet of human planet ships emerged. Not one, not two. 12 of them, gliding together, each the size of a world. They did not fire. They did not speak. They simply formed a line at the edge of alien space. Every empire watched. Every commander held their breath. Soldiers stared at their screens, sweat dripping down their necks. "Are they coming?" one asked. "Are they waiting?" another whispered. Are we about to die? The answer never came, for the ships only waited, their eyes glowing faintly like suns ready to ignite. And so the galaxy froze, afraid to move, afraid to speak, afraid to fire the first shot. The humans had shown their power. Now they showed their patience. The galaxy did not know which was worse. For months, the galaxy had lived in silence. 12 human planet ships stood at the edge of alien space, unmoving, unblinking, their glowing eyes watching. No one dared fire. No one dared speak. The galaxy was frozen, balanced on a knife's edge. But silence cannot last forever. It began with a signal. Across the stars, every empire heard it at once. A simple human transmission, clear and calm, without threat, without fear. We do not seek war, but if war comes, we will end it. The galaxy shook. Leaders stared at the message, their throats dry. Generals clenched their fists, unsure if it was a warning or a promise. Citizens across alien worlds whispered the words, repeating them with dread. And yet, that was not the revelation. That was only the beginning. The humans opened the sky. One by one, new signals lit across dead systems, hidden corners of the galaxy. Cloaking fields fell away, and the truth was revealed. The spies had been wrong. The galaxy had been blind, not 12, not 50, not 100. Hundreds upon hundreds of planet ships emerged from the shadows, like God stepping into the light. Each one was a world of steel and fire, engines glowing, weapons bristling, armor thicker than mountains. They rose from asteroid belts, from dark nebulae, from black holes where they had been hiding for decades. The galaxy gasped. One alien minister dropped to his knees, whispering, "It is not a fleet. It is an empire unto itself." In the Council of the Dravari, a general screamed, "This is impossible. No species can build this many." But the elder beside him shook his head slowly. "You do not understand humans. They are builders. They are survivors. While we fought wars of pride, they prepared. While we argued, they worked. While we called them weak, they made themselves strong." The revelation spread terror deeper than any weapon, because now the galaxy understood. This was not the birth of a fleet. This was the birth of a new age. On Earth, the Human Council watched the galaxy's reaction. Screens flickered with images of alien panic, leaders shouting, soldiers trembling, citizens screaming in the streets. One admiral spoke softly. "They will either kneel, or they will burn." Another replied, "Perhaps both." The leader of the council stood, his voice calm, almost sad. "We never wanted this. But we were given no choice. The galaxy planned our extinction, and so we built the end of extinction." He raised his hand toward the screen, where the fleet of planet ships glowed like a wall of stars. "This is our answer." The galaxy had no words. In the great hall of the Galactic Council, silence fell heavier than ever before. No arguments, no shouting, no laughter, only silence. Finally, the Kalar envoy broke it with trembling words. "We cannot fight this. Not with all our fleets, not with all our strength. Humanity has already won." The Varen ambassador slammed his fist against the table. "Then what do we do? Do we bow? Do we surrender?" No one answered, because deep down they knew the truth. It was no longer their choice to make. And then the humans spoke again. "We are not your enemy. But we are not your prey. We will not be hunted. We will not be erased. We are human, and we are here to stay." The words echoed across the stars, carried into every ship, every world, every frightened heart. For the first time in history, the galaxy listened to humanity's voice, and it was the voice of power. On alien streets, citizens whispered in awe. "They were ants once," said one. "Now they are giants," replied another. "No," a third whispered. "They were always giants. We just never saw it." The fleets of humanity stood still, waiting. The galaxy trembled, waiting. Would the humans strike? Would they conquer? But they did not move. They simply remained, a wall of worlds at the edge of the void, a warning written in steel and fire. Because humans did not need to fight. They had already won through silence, patience, and power. And so, the galaxy entered a new age, an age where every decision, every alliance, every war would be made under the shadow of human planet ships. The galaxy thought humans were weak. The galaxy thought humans were small. The galaxy thought humans were prey. The galaxy was wrong.